Hello, everyone. My name is Kristen Yoshimura. I am part of Team 7 along with Christina and Tyler, and we are going to talk about improving organic rankings for mortgagerateutah.com. So, just a quick introduction. The reason why we chose mortgagerateutah.com was because we noticed there is not very much traffic to coming to this website. There's a lot of room to grow. There's definitely some great content on there, but there is a lot that could be added, especially in comparison to Seven Slopes and some of the other things that we've been looking at in class. So here are just a couple graphs that show what we were looking at when we made this decision. This is showing data for the past 30 days for this website, mortgagerateutah.com. And what we noticed is that, for example, over the past 30 days, 24 people had found this website through searches or social media links. And most of that traffic happened within the past week. So really, it was probably, this is our assumption, people from our class working on these projects and doing some research who are visiting this website, not actual consumers of the information. So our objective is to create informational content focused on bringing new visitors to the site. So really just focusing on putting information out there that is very useful, that is driven by data and research, so that people can find it and use that um, for their own personal needs. And then our target segment we wanted to focus on was first-time home buyers. We noticed that in 2023, 32% of all home sales were first-time home buyers. People ranging in the age of mid 30s or so. And what we found they were looking for is just information. So, the new buying a new home is a very complicated process. There's a lot of information out there. And a lot of people who are searching for information just want good content. So they want that authenticity, something they can rely on, and not people who are just trying to sell them on other apps and other things. So our method was to create two blog posts on the website, one talking about explaining hidden costs and one that touches on understanding closing costs. And then also, in addition to that, we wanted to share posts to social media networks. Like we said, our target audience is new home buyers, mid 30s is the target age range. And that group of people is very active on LinkedIn, Instagram, and Twitter, also called X. So the process that we went through was to perform our competitive analysis, look at the keywords, do some research, and find what was popular, using technical SEO tools, and then optimizing our blog posts, using those SEO and optimizing for readability, using the tools and concepts that we covered in class. So first, we'll talk about the competitive landscape. There are several direct competitors out there, lots of people in the banking, loans, and real estate industries. Here's some examples of stuff that we looked at. And then the competitive analysis tools. So we were looking at Mortgage Rate Utah, but that website actually didn't have enough data to use for our tool. So we used NerdWallet instead to do some analysis. Our Moz Analytics searches pulled up 60 different similar websites. So kind of taking a look at those helped us focus on our searches and what we wanted to focus on. And now I'll turn it over to Tyler to talk about Google Keyword Planner.
Yeah, thanks, Kristen. So really after, we did our analysis and we looked at, content that other companies were offering and, kind of some of the overlap there, we decided to start looking for how we could build content that would be, easy for people to find and something that they could relate to. So we started with Google Keyword Calculator. It's a free tool and we could do as much researching there as we want. So, kind of our process was we just brainstormed a bunch of words and went and searched and figured out, what the average search volume was, if those topics are going up or down, what the competition was on them. Below here in this blue check box, you can see we were looking at some of our keywords that we found interesting, and these are ones that I ended up using in my article. But mortgage rates was a huge one. But then when you started looking at like loan calculator and Rocket Mortgage and certified financial planner, there was a lot less competition on those keywords, but still fairly high overall search volume. So after we did our initial research here, we actually took these results to another tool in Moz Analytics for some additional analysis. So you can go to the next one. The Moz Analytics gave us a lot more information. So this is just kind of a continuation of that that previous search where we were looking at loan calculators. We get a lot more detailed information on the volume and then some additional metrics like how difficult is it to rank at the top with that keyword, what the organic click-through rate is for the keyword, and then some other really cool metrics and information like who else is using it, what the intent of the searcher is. And for ours, they were pretty much all informational. And we got some other really good suggestions for keywords as well. So we, kind of made sure the intent and everything aligned, and then we took that information and started writing our articles. So we can go to the next slide. And like Kristen said, we really decided to dig in and do two blog posts. So the first one was unveiling the hidden costs of home ownership in Utah, reliable insights. And then Kristen wrote the closing documents demystified, a guide for Utah home buyers. And really, when we were writing these blog posts, we tried to focus in on our audience. We wanted them to be our first time home buyers. We wanted the content to take about 5 to 10 minutes to read, so 1,000 to about 1,500 words. And then we wanted them to be information dense and useful for that type of person. We wrote them in a way so that someone who wasn't very familiar with the process could, get into the article and understand what's going on and learn something. So it would actually be a real, tool and help for them. So, we felt that, being authentic and really trying to help new home buyers was probably the best way to reach them. Okay, next topic. As we were writing our posts, we kind of dug a lot into the technical SEO parts. And one of the first things that we looked at was the headline analyzer. So, kind of in these pieces we have pulled up, when I wrote my initial article, I only scored a 45 on the headline, which, isn't terrible, but it's not great. But following the suggestions of the Yoast SEO tool, we were able to increase that to 85. And really the change in that came from a little bit of vocabulary changes. We looked at some word lists for emotional and power words and added those to the headline. We decreased the word count and decreased the character count. And that was able to help us elevate our headline score from a 45 to an 85. And we did this on both posts and greatly increased them. And the reason this is so important is because the headline is, a lot more likely to be clicked when it's seen in a search result. When you go to do a Google search and you see something that doesn't make sense, or the title's really long or not catchy, you just skim right by it. So using this SEO tool's suggestions, we were able to increase the likelihood of somebody clicking on it. So next one. The next tool we looked at was the readability and structure. So I'm a terrible writer. And this tool was really helpful because it helped us, structure our articles in a way so that, a search engine can read them and interpret them so that it can return search results easier. This was stuff like using the correct H1, H2, H3 tags instead of long form lists and bullet points, which, a search engine may struggle with. We also increased the readability throughout, the entire article by decreasing sentence lengths, using active voice, reducing consecutive sentences and, sentence length, just so it's a lot more readable. And the hope here is that we decrease our bounce rates and, make it an easier, better experience for the user so that, we can continue to be a great resource for them. So next slide. The last piece we looked at was kind of the technical SEO, just the overall major things. So we added meta descriptions. We created outbound and internal links. For all of our images, we added alternative text and descriptions. We checked our key phrase density, that it was, represented enough times within the article, and then watched our text length, that it was the right size for things to have good SEO. One of the things I was kind of proud of is at the top where you have the Yoast toolbar. On both our articles, we ended up getting green lights, which is good. That's you know, it was a lot more work than I thought it would be, but it ended up working out for us. Excellent. Okay, Christina.
Awesome. Thank you, Tyler. Okay, now we will move on to communication channels. So the communication channels that we could see that are being used currently include Twitter or X and Facebook, as well as their website. So you can see here that they are not active on very many different platforms or communication channels. Next slide. And then, so this demographic, meaning first-time homebuyers, is most active on LinkedIn, X or Twitter, and Instagram. So those are the platforms that we chose to post on, and you can see previews of those posts here. Next slide. So now we will go over some of the keywords that we used and what traffic we expect to gain from using some of the most popular keywords. So search volumes for highly searched keywords include words such as mortgage calculator, home affordability, and home buyer guide. And these were estimated using Google Keyword Planner. Click-through rate assumptions were derived from advanced web ranking, and we chose to use a conservative estimate of 1% for high volume keywords and slightly lower for less competitive terms to come to our final calculation of the visitors per month as a result of using each of these keywords. Next slide. And then here we estimate the number of users that we will receive from each of the social media platforms that we chose to post on. So the number of first-time homebuyers was calculated from the approximately 53,000 total home sales that were made in Utah last year, with 32% of those sales being first-time homebuyers. This would make approximately 16,960 first-time homebuyers, which we will estimate to be roughly the same this year. So if we refer back to the data found in our project proposal, we can see that according to Sprout Social, this demographic is most active on LinkedIn, X, and Instagram, as I mentioned before. Engagement and click-through rates for these three social media platforms were sourced from Sprout Social, and they showed that these platforms typically see engagement rates of 5% and click-through rates of 5% as well, which we use to estimate the referral traffic. And in our calculations, we took the total target demographic, we multiplied it by the percentage that is found on each platform, and then we multiplied that number by the 5% engagement rate and then the 5% CTR rate. So the sources and rationale for the social media engagement rate, we found on Sprout Social. And then next slide. So now we can move on to the real estate agent referrals. So we'll just estimate that we'll reach approximately 50 agents, and each of those agents will reach 100 users. So the assumptions and the potential reach and engagement rates of content shared by these real estate agents were based on industry norms and typical audience sizes and engagement rates reported by platforms like LinkedIn. And then we cut these numbers down a little bit just due to the small number of visitors that the site is currently receiving. So we determined an average engagement rate of 2.5% and a click-through rate of 2.5% as well. So multiplying 5,000 by each of those percentages brings us to approximately 3 new users per month via this channel. Next slide. So we expect to see a gradual increase in organic traffic. So 20% in months 1 and 2, 50% in months 3 and 4, 75% in months 5 and 6, and then we expect to receive 100% of our estimated visitors after month 6 and beyond. So the gradual increase in organic traffic that we are assuming here over 6 months follows common SEO timelines noted by various SEO case studies that we gathered our data from. Next slide. So here on this slide, you can see the summary of the total amount of visitors that we calculated that we would receive in each of these timeframes. And again, the slide that we went over previously only applies to organic searches. So we expect to see a consistent number of visitors coming from social media and real estate agents over time. And that brings us to the end of our presentation. Thank you so much for watching.